is Faith Marie. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I like to write about my experiences with mental illnesses and the stereotypes surrounding them. So I myself got officially diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and ADD about a year ago, but I have been suffering with the symptoms for as long as I can remember. I think my anxiety disorder started to manifest very aggressively about 7 years ago. That's when I started having really bad panic attacks, and it was unbearable. It wasn't something that you could ignore. It was very clear what was going on. It was very clear that it was a problem. There was just no ignoring it. I think maybe the first time I recognized mental illness as a serious issue was probably around 11 maybe. I can't remember a specific experience that made me realize that these things exist and that people have these issues, but I think it was probably around that time. In general, I typically don't like the way that media and entertainment portrays mental illness, because I think that a lot of the times it's romanticized and made to look almost quirky and interesting, when in reality, if you're actually the person suffering with it, it's a very difficult thing to live with on a day-to-day basis. I think a positive example of mental illness, this is kind of a weird one, but it really stuck out to me when I watched it. So in the second season of Stranger Things, actually, they don't directly reference this as mental illness, but when I saw it, I was like, wow, that feels exactly like what my anxiety is. So the main character, Will, he has this like entity inside of him, and he can't really control it, and it's crippling him essentially. He can't really live with it. It doesn't feel like a part of him. It feels like a separate part of him that comes in and takes over. And I felt like that was the greatest example of what anxiety feels like to me. It doesn't necessarily feel like a part of me. It feels like a separate outside entity almost taking over, and it's hard to control. So I think a lot of the process of mental illness is learning how to address it and control it. Something that I wish that I would have done early on is accept the way that I was feeling instead of constantly fighting it and feeling like it was an enemy of mine and something that was going to ruin my life, essentially. I think a better way to approach it, and the way that helped me accept it and move forward and essentially heal, is taking it head on and saying, okay, this is a problem. It's not going to ruin my life, but it is something that I have to address. And don't fight it. Just look it straight in the eyes, evaluate it, let it take over you, and learn how it works and how to deal with it. Because I think the more that you fight those emotions and those feelings, the longer that it's going to take you to understand what's actually going on, and therefore prolonging the journey of fixing it or learning how to deal with it in a effective and healthy way. In terms of how you can deal with it in others, I would say asking a lot of questions and trying not to assert yourself as though you completely understand what they're going through, because I think a lot of the time people don't want to hear that. They just want to talk. They just want to talk about their experiences, and I think that's a great first step to healing, is talking. Just talking as much as you can about it and figuring it out with people that you trust and are close to you. I think leaving an open space to be able to communicate about it, because I think people are generally very empathetic, and we have the ability to imagine ourselves in other people's shoes. So I think if we create that open communication space where we just let people share their experiences and talk about what they're going through without judgment, I think that we could all benefit from that. Not only the ones suffering, but the people who maybe are trying to understand their loved ones that are suffering. So yeah, basically open communication I think would be a really great start in reducing stigma. Like I said before, I have ADD, so it's very hard for me to get into like a specific routine. It's like if my mind goes somewhere, I feel like I have to follow it, you know? And sometimes I don't even realize that I'm following it. So routines are definitely hard for me, but there are a few things that are staples in my daily life to keep me grounded, essentially. Because if I follow that feeling for too long, then I experience what's called disassociation, where I don't feel like I'm in my body and I feel like I'm almost in a dream. So I like to do grounding exercises and things to make me feel like I'm on planet Earth, essentially. So usually I wake up, and before I do anything else, I just do a quick 10-minute meditation. Sometimes I won't even do a guided meditation. I'll just put on sounds that I like. I really like, I'm not sure what they're called. They're like the Buddha sound bowls. I really like those. So I'll just put those on and just breathe and try and just start the day with a clean slate. And then I will take a 2.5-mile walk with my dog, and I feel like that has really helped me start the day productively. Going out in the early morning, feeling the fresh air, and just starting off getting my blood moving and pumping, it really keeps my energy levels high, because I think when you have anxiety, you can get tired really quickly. So I think that keeps my energy levels a little bit higher in the day. And yoga is another thing that I really like to do, because I think that it engages your mind and your body. So anything that connects my mind and my body really helps me with disassociating. It helps me keep grounded. So those are probably the 3 things that I try and do every single day, and that I've noticed really help me with my illnesses.